Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. To you, Lord, I'm grateful, Allah the sustainer. For sins I'm remorseful, Allah the forgiver. For blessings I'm hopeful, Allah the bestower. Gracious and merciful, Allah the creator. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We were discussing in the previous lectures about miracles of the Holy Quran as a sign of prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have discussed many points that there is no contradiction in the Holy Quran, the content of the Holy Quran, the extreme high values and laws for the humanity which are suitable for every human being at any time, at any place. And we discussed that the prophet's story in the Holy Quran is entirely different than stories of the prophets in the Bible, so it is not taken from that. Actually, the Holy Quran mentions high of the prophets. They are infallible and they are getting their knowledge from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are sinless. So all those points have been discussed before, and we reached a state that one of the miracles of the Holy Quran is the scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran. When we mention scientific facts, we mean that there are many facts about human being, about embryology, about medicine, about cosmology and the atmosphere around us, about physics and rules and regulations, about astronomy, and so on. These facts were not known at that time, 1,400 years before, when the Holy Quran was revealed. Now, if the Holy Quran was made by Muhammad himself as a human being, not as a prophet, naturally it is impossible for someone who lived at that time and knew certain facts which will be discovered 1,000 years after that. So that shows the content of the Holy Quran are not of a human source, but it is a revelation from Almighty Allah, who knows everything. These facts were mentioned to the people of that time, let us say the Arabs of the illiterate or ignorant era, al-Jahiliyyah, and they have heard all those verses of the Holy Quran. They have not argued about their authenticity. They have not questioned what the Holy Quran said is not similar to what they think scientifically is right. Even the Roman Christians who have accepted Islam later on, and the Iranian emperor, where they have accepted Islam later on, the people were well educated on different scientific facts. Still, they have not argued that what the Holy Quran said about these points is not according to the science we know, because they know what they know is not really a science. What they know is maybe fiction, that is theories, but they believe in that. We are going to discuss some of them here. Otherwise, in the internet we can find hundreds of the sites where they mention about scientific miracle of the Holy Quran. I have chosen some of them. One of them is related to anatomical fact in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 56. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين كفروا بآياتنا سوف نصليهم نارا كلما نضجت جلودهم بدلناهم جلودا غيرها ليذوقوا العذاب إن الله كان عزيزا حكيما. Those who reject our signs we shall cast into the fire as often as their skins are roasted through we shall change them for fresh skins that they may taste the punishment for Allah is exalted in power wise. Now here the factor said the point about those who are non-believers. In the day of judgment they will be burned in the hellfire. But the question comes, if the hellfire is so extreme and so huge, naturally in a second his body will burn and will finish, and there will be no pain because he will finish completely. Like, let us say, in this world, if somebody by dictators is being tortured and burned, they may suffer for a few seconds, few minutes, and then he will die. There is no more punishment. He will not feel any punishment because he will die. So now what about the day of judgment? In the day of judgment, Almighty God says, when he is finished, we will change his skin with another skin. But the word used, nadajat in Arabic, used roasted as in English, or properly cooked. Its meaning, nadajat, we say the meat is properly cooked. You put it for barbecue, say it's cooked properly, it is roasted properly. So that is the word nadajat. Usually it is used for meat. In Arabic literature, it is not used for skin. We don't, even in English, we don't say the skin is roasted. We say the meat is roasted. We don't say roast for a skin. You can say skin is burned, not roasted. So skin is burned and the meat is roasted. The Holy Quran here, he mentions this important bit, that whenever their skin are roasted, then we will change them with another one in order to feel the pain. لِيَذُوقُ الْعَذَابِ. So when the skin is burned or roasted, maybe in a second or less than a second, God will change him with another skin, and so on, continuous change of the skin, so that he will feel pain continuously. What is miraculous here is, in anatomy we know the sensory nerves are available in the skin only, not in the muscles. The muscles have motor nerves, not sensory nerves. Motor nerves for movement, not for pain or feeling sensation or say feeling of the temperature or other type of feeling. The muscle itself has no pain, but the pain comes from the skin. Why? Because the nerves, which are sensory nerves, are superficial in the skin. There are three types of nerves and nerve endings. Well, they are mentioned in anatomy or in histology. Well, the doctors, they studied about it. Anyhow, we say the skin is the one which feels the pain, not the muscle. So here, the word is used whenever the skin is roasted, is burned completely. And when the skin is burned completely, the person will feel no pain from the skin. This is a known fact in medicine. If somebody get complete burn, complete means all the skin, third degree burn. Third degree, when all of the skin is burnt and then the burn will reach the muscles. He will have no pain from the burnt area because there is no sensory nerves in that way. The nerves also are burnt completely. He may feel pain on the edge of the burn. Let us say if his hand completely burned, then there will be no pain from the hand. Maybe the edge, the sensory area are still at the edge of the burn will be there. And if, let us say, his body, his legs are burned, half body is burned, for example, then he will not feel pain in the legs because the nerves all are burned as well. I mean, that is a third degree burn when total dermis and epidermis are burned and it will reach to the muscles. So the sensory nerves are in the skin itself, and that fact were not known in those days, maybe even till early 19th century, when medicine developed and microscope was made, and then anatomy has developed a lot. So they found that there are two types of nerves. One type are sensory nerves, another type are motor nerves. Their origin from the brain is different, and their characters and attributes are different, and so on. So that was discovered later on. So if the Holy Quran would have been a book of a human being, actually he should use whenever their meat or their body was roasted, we will change him with another body, because nobody at those days care about the skin to be important. Say if somebody is burned, all his body will be roasted. So you say when the body is roasted and turned into ashes, then we'll make the body alive again, so that he is living being, not concentrating on the skin. But this ayah here concentrate on the skin. We come to the second ayah in Surah Al-Insan, ayah number 2. إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. Surely we have created man from a small life germ unifying itself. We mean to try him, so we have made him hearing, seeing. Well, here the point is nutfatin amshaj. The beginning of creation of a human being, as we know nowadays scientifically, is when the sperm will fertilize the ova, the sperm from the man, the ova from the woman. When they get fertilized, and a fertilized ovum will be formed, and that ova will come, fertilized ovum will come to the uterus and then fix itself to the wall of the uterus and then start growing gradually. This fact were known by doctors very lately, in late centuries. In those days, they did not know about that fact at all. They used to think, and well, it is written in books of the doctors of those days, centuries before, if we read the books of the doctors, they used to say that a human being starts as a small human being. Well, is it the same like this, a human being? But he is small. And that small human being will grow gradually and will be bigger till he is at the age of a small newborn baby, so will come out. So the idea in their mind was like that. They did not know that the sperm will fertilize the ovum, and from that fertilization the embryo is going to be formed. That was not known at that time. Here the Holy Quran is saying min nutfatin amshaj. Amshaj means mixed together. So it says you are mixing from men and women. That fertilized ovum is mixed from both of them. Fact was not known. So here matter of embryology, which is very delicate science, because they should study the human embryo from day one, the fertilization happened, till they know at day 5 it will come to the uterus and then grow gradually, and stages will be there in other ayahs from nutfa, alaqa, mudgha, and so on. Details are mentioned. So that is the procedure of development of a human being mentioned very well in the Holy Quran. In another ayah which is mentioned here beside this point, that nutfatin amshaj, is the point مضغة علقة and عظاما ثم كسونا العظام لحما. The procedure first from a clot of blood, and then it is like a leech, the small animal, a worm, and then it will be then like a small piece of meat. But then the point which is mentioned here, ثم كسونا العظام لحما. After that stages, maybe it will take about 2-3 months. Then you say, then we covered the bones with the muscles, with the flesh. So it means the bone is been created before the muscle, not the muscle before the bone. Kasawna, we have covered the bones with the muscles. Now, if you take the embryo as a small, before we know the details of embryology, when the women have abortion, let us say at 1 month, you see that there is no bone, there is all flesh, muscles or skin or meat, you know, it is a flesh gradually. So it basically, which one is created first? The one created first is usually the way we think, not scientifically, that the meat or the flesh is created first, because at the beginning it is only flesh. This is what we see. Then the flesh gradually grows and get cartilage, and then the cartilage gradually hardened and get bones. So the bone is created later on, because if we have an abortion for a baby of 1 month age, you see the flesh. 2 month age is the flesh. Then maybe 3-4 months, now we see there are beginning of formation of bones are there. But the Holy Quran point out, they said, no, first the bones are created, and then the bones are covered with the muscles, with the laham. Laham is the muscle, or the, you can say, the flesh. When we go into details of the embryology, you see the bones start formation from osteocytes, the cells which are making the bone cells. Osteocytes are the first cells which make the bones. First, those cells of the bones are formed, and then the cells of the muscles, which are called myocytes, are formed, because the muscles, as it is known from anatomy, are attached to bones. Usually every muscle is attached to 2 bones so that it can move. You know, the muscle is attached, let us say, to 1 bone here, 1 bone here, and then it can move the bone. Another muscle attached both sides, then it will move either in flexion or extension. So the muscles are attached in 2 bones, and there is a joint in between. So each bone has many places for muscle attachment here and muscle attachment in this bone, and then the movement of the hand in different directions, or of the leg, or of the vertebra, all that happens by movement of the muscles. So first, the original cells of the bones are formed, that is in embryology, and then the muscle cells are formed. And that's really mentioned in miraculous way in the Holy Quran. Though, as I said, even if the Quran said that the embryo is first without bone, because that is how frankly you see it, you know, if it's small, you don't feel there is bone in it, you see just small flesh, and naturally that flesh is near to be called as meat rather than to call it that there is bone first. The 4th point to be mentioned here in Surah Al-Qiyamah, ayah 1-4. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه. Allah is swearing by the day of resurrection, and then he said, does man think that we shall not gather his bones? We are able to make complete his very fingertips. Now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about his signs and his might and his ability. Some people will deny that there will be a day of judgment because they say when we die we are disintegrated and we finish, so how God can create us again, how can we be gathered again? That is impossible. So the Holy Quran point here that do the human being think that we cannot collect his bones again? Yes, we are able to complete the very fingertips. So now talking about sign of Allah and might of Allah, and then discussing a small point which apparently does not look to be something miraculous. We are talking about the creation of a human being again. When a human being is dead and the 1,000 years passes and the bone will become like ashes, so God is saying, okay, we can create the bone again. But then Allah said, give an important point, that we have created his fingertips. So what is miraculous in the fingertips? Why fingertips is important to be mentioned? I mean, anybody can ask the Prophet at that time, okay, what that has to do with the ability and might of Almighty God, that he can gather the bones again, and because he can make the fingertips. What is importance of fingertips? Naturally, fingertips looks very small comparing with the bones of the body. But only in maybe 20th century now, the scientists discover that every fingertip is different for all human beings. You will not find any two human beings who have the same fingertips. And that is why when people stamp with their fingertips, or if they leave any sign of it by catching the window or others, then the police can make a photo of it and know who has, well, in criminal cases, who has entered the house from his fingertips, because there are no two similar fingertips among humanity. So pointing out to that, you see, it can't be from an ordinary human being. Otherwise, why should he raise a point which is not very clear, not very important at that time? Well, remember, Quran revealed 1,431 years, Hijri years, if we talk from today. So at that time, nobody knew those facts or those points. These are very strange things for them. But still, the Holy Quran point out about it, and he said, these are signs and miracles and ability of Almighty God. And he remind the people that don't doubt there will be no day of resurrection. No, there will be day of resurrection, and your bones will be gathered as we were able to create your fingertips. Well, the fifth point in Surah Al-An'am, ayat 125, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ كَذَلِكَ يَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Therefore, for whomsoever Allah intends that he would guide him aright, he expands his breast for Islam, and for whomsoever he intends that he should cause him to err, he makes him his breast straight and narrow, as though he were ascending upwards. Thus does Allah lay uncleanness on those who do not believe. Now the point here, for those whomsoever Allah intends that they are to remain in misguidance and they are misguided. So here Allah said, we'll make his chest is tight in a critical position as somebody is being raised in the sky. Now, nobody in 14 centuries ago used to know that if we go higher, and then we'll get difficulty of breathing. Mecca itself had, well, some mountains around it, and the people used to go high in those mountains. Of course, the mountains are not very high, maybe 200, 300 meters maximum, but then they did not feel that point. And nobody in those days were in that belief that if he go very high in the sky, then he will get suffocation and difficulty in breathing because of lack of oxygen. When nowadays we know that if we go high, maybe above 5-6 kilometers, up to 8 kilometers, then we start feeling difficulty of breathing because of lack of oxygen. And if you go more, let us say 10 to 20 kilometers high, naturally will be so much lack of oxygen that we may not be able to live unless we have oxygen with us in order to supply us with oxygen continuously. So such point to be mentioned in the Holy Quran, naturally it shows Quran is from Almighty Allah, not from an ordinary human being. Otherwise, no human being in those days knew this fact that oxygen will be less when you go high, about 10 to 15 kilometers high, that you will feel tight chest and then you cannot breathe. We come to the sixth point, and that is expansion of the universe, and well, the seventh point also, the Big Bang Theory. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, ayah 47, the Holy Quran said, وَالسَّمَاء بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. And in Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah 30, it is mentioned, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. The translation, and the heaven we created with might, and indeed we are its expander. Now, the heaven we created with might, okay, easy, because the heaven to be created needs might and power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what does it mean? And we are its expander, we are expanding it. What does it mean? Well, in the old beliefs, old philosophers, even up to Mullah Sadra, who was living about 400 years before, the well-known Muslim philosopher, all the philosophers who used to discuss about astronomy, because astronomy was part of philosophy, so they used to say that the sky above us is like a roof, and that roof is of limited size, and that size is created as it is, as we see it. And then they have theories about it, that this sky, is it empty? They said no, emptiness is not possible in creation, so it must be filled with something called ether. Well, something, they call it ether. And then they said it is like a roof which is a closed roof. And they have theory of la kharqa wal iltiyam. That roof cannot be penetrated, and if it is penetrated, it will not heal again, because it is made such that it is solid, you cannot penetrate. And if by any way you penetrate, then a hole will be there, and that hole will not repair, will remain like that. So that was the theories about the sky above us. That nobody believed that there is movement or expansion in that sense. Here the Holy Quran discuss in these two ayahs these 2 points. One of them, that the sky is expanding. You know, in early 19th or 20th century, in 1916 and 1920, the scientists like Albert Einstein, or later on with Hubble, they discovered that the galaxies and the other stars are moving away from each other, and that is because of the centrifugal power which pushes them away from the center. Anything moving around in a circle, it will be pushed away from the center by centrifugal power. So because all are moving in circle, all the galaxies, all the stars, all are moving in circle, so they are pushed away gradually from each other, and they become far from each other. So that was discovered by them, and this fact were not known naturally 14 centuries ago. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that, and he mentioned it. The other point, which as I said might lead to the Big Bang, that is in Surah Al-Anbiya, do not those who disbelieve see that the heavens and earth were closed up. Here the translation, Ratqan was closed up, in touch with each other. But we have opened them, and we have made of water everything living. Will they not then believe? Well, in another translation, instead of closed up means we're of one piece, then we parted them. Here, well, it is mentioned that the heaven and earth were one piece. It was closed, and then we separated them and we opened them. In hadith, they asked our imams alayhim salam, what was this ratq and fatq? Ratq means the close up and then the opening. They said the heaven was not raining and the earth was not producing plant. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the heaven, so rain start coming, and opened the earth, and the plant start growing. That is one of the tafsir which is mentioned in hadith. As we know, the Holy Quran has a dhahrun wa batan, has an apparent meaning and hidden meaning. And the hidden has apparent and hidden till 7 hidden meanings. So many other meanings are quite possible to be known. Well, here they said the heaven and earth were one, and then we separated them, we opened them. This is exactly the Big Bang theory, when they said it was very hot, one piece, and that suddenly it expanded or it exploded. They say expansion or explosion. The old theory, they said it was an explosion, but nowadays they say it was not an explosion but expansion. Anyhow, in whatever way, so it was opened, and by opening that, then the heaven and earth was formed. Well, whether we accept this meaning or the other meaning, the same thing. As we know scientifically, at times after Big Bang, billions of years passed, there was no rain because of high temperature. Big Bang happened something between 12 to 15 billion years. Well, nowadays say maybe 18 billion years before. And then for few billion years remained without any sign of life. And then about 4 billion years before now, then beginning of life started with ashes in the sea. You know, there was water, and then from the water gradually there was the plant, and from the plant gradually other vegetables was created, and then the animals were created, and then human beings were created. Now, whether they believe that a human being came from heaven, as religiously we believe Adam alayhi salam was brought down, or they believe a human being was made by organic formation of the first organic cell, whatever the theories, we are not discussing that, but what I mean, these are the details of a creation. So here the Holy Quran says, first pointing out, as I said, to the expansion of Big Bang theory, they were opened. Secondly, in Hadith they said it was closed, there is no rain, because when it was like a cloud, all heaven and earth was like a cloud because of high temperature. They all were like a cloud, all evaporated. There is no solid things, everything with high temperature, and they were like a cloud. And then gradually, by reduction of the temperature, it got cold and then become solid. So earth become solid, and then the cloud started to rain, and then raining started. When rain started, here another point which is also scientific fact, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ, and we made from water every living thing, or everything living. So we know nowadays there is no living being can be created without water. The human cell, animal cell, and plant cell, all of them, they need water. Actually, about 70% of the weight of the body is made of water. Without water, it's not possible. If you take one cell, human cell, or animal cell, or even the plant cell, all of them have water inside. So there is no living being without water. That is another miraculous point mentioned in the Holy Quran about importance of water for the living beings. So this is about this ayah. Well, there are other ayah which related to this in Surah Al-Rahman, ayah 33, يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. O assembly of the jinn and the men, if you are able to pass through, and in Pickthall translation, if you have power to penetrate all regions of the heavens and the earth, then penetrate them. You will never penetrate them save with our sanction or with our authority. So again here, say, if you want to penetrate, if you want to go to sky, you can go to sky, it is okay. But you need power, sultan, authority, or power, or permission from God will give you that power to move. So this is, as I say, totally against the philosophical theory to say that you cannot go to the sky and there is no penetration and no healing happening if you go to the sky, according to the old philosophical theory. The Holy Quran said frankly that you can penetrate and you can go to the sky, but you need a power. Well, of course, scientific power is needed so that whatever rockets we have, they can go to the moon and to other satellites, and no problem for them to move in the sky, but they need naturally proper technology. So as I said, these ayahs nowadays are very known facts, but when you imagine that they were delivered 1,400 years ago, naturally no human being can know these facts at that time. All have different theories, and nowadays the science will affirm what the Holy Quran is mentioning. We come to the other point about the creation of the mountains in Surah An-Naba 6 and 7. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ مِهَادًا وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا. Have we not made the earth an even expanse, and the mountains as projections thereon? Or the mountains as pegs in another translation. The mountain is, let us say, projections or bulwarks or pegs. Watad is like the nail when you put in the wall. That is a place where you can tie your rope, so they call watad. Autada is a plural of watad. So the mountains are on earth like a nail to fix the earth. Well, this point, nobody knew at that time what is the role of the mountains. They thought it is something natural. There are mountains and there is nothing particular about them. But the Holy Quran said, no, the mountains have a very big role to give stability to this earth. And they are like a nail which fix the earth. And we know nowadays from geological studies that the mountains are very deep in earth. And they have really that benefit. When earth is moving around, the mountains give it certain stability in its movement. And that is very important for the earth. In another ayah, the Holy Quran said, وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم وأنهارا وسبلا لعلكم تهتدون. And he has cast great mountains in the earth, lest it might be convulsed with you. So the importance of these mountains, that it will stop the earth in a proper way, so there will be no convulsion of the earth, or the other translation, and he has set firm mountains in the earth so that it would not shake with you. So the earth movement around, which is also mentioned in other ayahs of the Holy Quran, but it says its movement should be proper, but it should not be unstable. So the mountains will give the earth certain stability. So that is again geological fact in the Holy Quran, which were not known 1,400 years before, while the Holy Quran mentioned it frankly. As I said, these points are unusual in the Arabic literature, let us say. Well, Arabs have their own phrases, parables, stories, and things they mention, or sciences, whatever. When you go to that, you never find such type of scientific facts mentioned in their literature. So how come a human being who comes from that environment, who have been educated in that environment, he learned that language, he discussed about all these points which are unusual and very strange in that era, in ignorant era or time of Jahiliyyah. Even if we say he would have learned them from some people, who were the people who knows this? If you go to the Roman emperor and we see their books, we do not find these facts were there, or even a Persian emperor, we do not find these facts there. Nobody knew about these facts. So it is only Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who know these facts, and these are some of the facts mentioned in the Holy Quran. Well, of course, there are tens of ayahs in the Holy Quran which mention about these scientific facts. Some of them about the cosmology, and some of them about human creation, some of them about physics and facts in physics, and many different points are mentioned. Some have collected I don't know, 50, 60 ayahs in the Holy Quran which point out to these scientific facts, and probably more and more will be discovered by time. 1,400 years has passed to discover these facts, and we don't know. Other facts might be discovered after another 1,000 years. Allah only knows. So these are some of the important points to mention about miracles of the Holy Quran. And it is important for those who do not know Arabic, because they say we cannot accept that Quran is miraculous book as from the language point of view. So we said, okay, if you don't know the Arabic, at least you know the translation in English. And these are scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran, which were not known at that time, and it shows this is book getting knowledge from supernatural way, that is from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.